So welcome, Marnie, to the conversations of parenting. And I truly wonder what we can actually create with this call today, and how much can we reach out to, how many people can receive from this call.
Yes.
And we have already 12 people on. How wonderful is that? So I would love to ask to start with, actually, I'm going to mute everybody. And can I request everyone to please mute yourselves so it doesn't disturb the recording? Thank you. Sunita, I'm unable to mute you, darling. Can you just, yeah, done. Great. Okay. So parenting, conscious parents, conscious kids, that beautiful, wonderful, wonderful class, which is just, for me, it's taking the world by storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would like to be even way, way more. And it would like to just be unleashed in the world in a greater way. We actually had a call yesterday. We're doing something called the deep dive, and it's 6 months of calls with parents, and the conversation was just amazing, and the change that people get so quickly with the tools that we talk about. It's you know, there's so many books written on parenting, there's so many lectures and conversations and all of these, you know, everybody's trying to figure it out and trying to get it right and to get the right answer and get the right information and do the right thing, and it's so exhausting to go about it that way. Yeah. And you're always judging you. And then there's these simple tools that say, you know what, actually, there's a different possibility. Actually, this doesn't have to be hard. Actually, this can be joyful and add to your life instead of being this overwhelming problem you have to solve. And it changes everything for parents and kids.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, parenting is supposed to be serious business, right?
Yes.
It can't be fun. Yeah. It can't be.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that came out on the call yesterday was one of our facilitators does some, I think it's like social work or that sort of thing, or maybe it was in the hospital. I don't know. But when parents would come in with issues with their children, they were trained to tell the parents, parenting is a hard job. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. So, and the interesting thing is that our point of view about anything creates our reality. And what that means is if I have a point of view that something is a particular way, that's exactly how it's going to show up for me. So when it comes to parenting, if we have the point of view that this is hard and exhausting and overwhelming, then that's what we create. And that's what we experience every single day, is this overwhelming, exhausting experience with parenting. Or, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, whatever a point of view about it is, we actually create that, and that's what shows up in our world. So how many lies have we actually bought that aren't even our point of view? They're other people's points of view that we've taken on and aligned and agreed with or fought against, but that we are duplicating in our lives with our kids on all kinds of topics, from what they should eat, or how you should correct them, or how much time they should be in front of the TV, or, you know, how they should behave as far as homework and getting their assignments done. You know, how many points of view do you have that you borrowed, that you took from someone else? And have you ever stopped to ask, if I hadn't decided this was true and just assumed and bought this because someone else told me it was so, what would I actually know? What would my kids actually know? And if we let go of all the points of view and just started to ask what else is possible, what could we create? How much fun can we have? What if this could be easy? Then what else could start to show up? So
absolutely. I mean, that is so true. Yeah, that is so true, right? It's about actually willing to know what the kids know, and to allow them to speak with you in a manner that they know what they know, without the fear of what, if they bring across what they know, without the fear of that being reprimanded or them getting punished. I loved what you wrote on Facebook about discipline.
Yeah. What if you did? Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can. There's like
Yeah.
a little delay or like a little, yeah.
Yeah, right. This is kind of is it's cutting. I don't know why that's happening. Okay. So yeah, I loved what you wrote about discipline. And that was something so beautiful because what I mean, most of the time it's about making them wrong and it's about telling them how they're wrong
Yes. Yeah.
instead
So,
of
and
showing them a different possibility.
yeah, it's about discipline. And even when you look at where the word comes from, it's about creating disciples. And what is creating a disciple? Well, it's creating what you've decided they should be and getting them to follow in your footsteps. And usually through methods of chastisement or correction or punishment. I mean, get the energy of that. Does that ever work for you if someone is chastising you and correcting you? So discipline is all about
Absolutely.
you made a choice. I don't like your choice. I've decided your choice is wrong. So here's the consequences. Here's the punishment. Here's the correction I'm delivering to you so I can get you on the path I've decided is best for you. That's what discipline creates. So the other possibility in that is rather than any choice being wrong, is empowering our kids to choose, allowing them to choose, and then saying, hey, now can you look at that? Can you look at that choice? What did that choice create? Because if they start to get that I chose this and this is what showed up, then they're empowered to create what works for them. And my favorite example of this, so I have, well, I'm a single mom now, but when I was married, I had a blended family of 6 kids. So currently the youngest one is 10, and then the next one is 17, and then they go 20 somethings from there. So, and all of my stepkids, even though I'm no longer married, are still very much part of my world. But it was about probably 7 years ago. Aaron was 3, and I was working from home, but I put him in preschool like 3 days a week. So he'd go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it was a particular day where he was home from school and he was upstairs in his bedroom playing. I was downstairs on my computer, and he comes walking down the stairs with this toy car in his hand, just streaming tears. Like, dude, are you hurt? What happened? And he goes, no, this car, it was in my friend's cubby at school. And I thought it was the coolest car, so I took it. And I feel terrible. And I said, okay, so what would you like to choose now? And he goes, I got to take it back. And I said, do you want it tomorrow? Is it okay? We go tomorrow and I take you to school. And he just looked at me with the crocodile tears. Please, Mom, can I do it now? I said, sure, let's go. So we got in the car. We drove to the school. We walk into the classroom. Yeah. Aaron finds his friend and he just looks at him and he said, I'm sorry. I took this from you. It's not mine. And I need to give it back. And his friend just wrapped his arms around him and said, oh, thank you. I wondered where that went. And he took off. And so Aaron and I are walking out to school and I just said, hey, what do you know now that you didn't know before you made that choice? And he goes, it doesn't work for me to take things that aren't mine. But the other, what this reality would say, he stole something. That is a terrible thing. Children should not steal. What should the consequence be? Yeah. What kind of thing are you going to do as a parent to make sure he doesn't do that again? Versus choose, become aware of what that choice creates, choose again.
And also, if I can say here, Marnie, it's about instilling that wrongness into the child by actually probably telling him that, you know what, if you're going to do that, you're going to grow up to be a thief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like deciding what his future is going to be based on that one action. Like there's no more choice after that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and there's so many points of view and pressure put on parents as well. I mean, this is like the one area we're really told you can't screw this up. If you screw this up, then your kids are going to be awful people and you will have been a bad parent. It'll be all your fault. So you better make sure that you do everything right and that you get this right. You can screw up everything else, but don't screw up when it comes to your kids. And so then.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
How true is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay to fail in business. It's okay to have a broken relationship. But a bad parent, oh, wow.
That's the worst of the worst.
Oh, absolutely. That's the worst of your choices, worst of your mistakes.
Yeah.
What an unlucky parent and what a terrible parent you are.
Yeah. But what that creates for us as parents then is this pressure we put on ourselves that there's always this underlying thing of, am I doing it right? Am I doing enough? Am I getting it right? Am I helping my kids? Am I hurting my kids? And there's the pressure we put on ourselves, which always turns to the judgment of ourselves and where we're wrong and where we're not measuring up. And so then we come at our kids with this energy of all of that. And then we wonder why they push back and have conflict with us. Well, look at the space we're interacting with them from. It's from judgment. It's from wrongness. It's from, overwhelm and pressure and stress and all of that stuff. And then we're surprised that they're like fighting against us all the time, but that's not a fun energy. So what if you go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. It's almost like when you come in front of your kids, when you're in front of them, they almost look at you, or they perceive you as somebody who's there to stop them from being themselves, and stop them from actually doing what they want to do, because they've already decided that what they're going to do is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, So it's like they've decided that that's a wall. And to be able to do anything, I got to have that wall down. So it's almost like a fight that starts before anything can actually start with a parent and a child, right?
Yes.
And then that generally comes from the space of disciplining.
Totally. Yeah. So when you come from the space of what Chandana was just saying, and the getting it right and the having to discipline and all of that wrongness, our first language when we're born into the world, before we actually speak any words, our language is energy. We know energy. We perceive energy. Our children, that's what they get before they get anything else. So even before we can communicate to them through any spoken words out of our mouth, there's the energetic communication and the energetic communion that occurs. So if as a parent, I'm judging myself, if as a parent, I have bought the idea that now that I'm a parent, I must sacrifice myself. I must give myself up for my children. I no longer matter. Everything pertains to them. I fall to the bottom of the list. I don't count anymore. If we come from those points of view, we're creating this energy and this environment which is so contrary to what's true, and our kids know it, and then they have to fight it because they come in with a knowing of something else that's possible. They come in of a knowing of when energy is communion and flow and when it's fight in this. So if we would like a different possibility, really a starting place is to let go of everything we've decided being a parent is, everything we've decided we're required to do. And my favorite tool for that is interesting point of view. I have that point of view. I use it all the time. And when I first came across the tools of access consciousness, it was the one I used with parenting all the time. The moment, we'd sit down to eat and I would have the point of view that my kids should eat their vegetables. They shouldn't eat so much sugar. They shouldn't be filling up on things to drink. They should actually eat that. Yes. Then I would stop and go, interesting point of view. I have that point of view. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. And what I always found is that, sorry, I need to turn off my noises on my computer. Is that when I really, because what happens when you say interesting point of view, I have that point of view, everywhere you've made it true, everywhere you would swear by, this is how it should be, all of a sudden it just becomes interesting. Not real or true, not significant, just interesting. And when it's interesting, you can look at it and go, is that actually true? Or would I like to choose something else?
So true. I remember when I started with the access classes, the first one that I did, and my younger one, Noor, was just 10 at that time. And I remember her accompanying me just because she said, I want to know what you're doing, Mom. You're going for a class. So for her, it was almost like Mom's going to school. So I want to come with you. I said, fine, let's go together. And she loved it because there were so many chocolates, so many chips, and as many drinks as she could have that full day. And I remember her telling me, every class you go to, I want to go with you. So I said, did you enjoy the class? She says, no, I got to eat chips without you telling me not to eat them. So I was like, right. I remember trying so hard, even after that in the foundation, telling her, I would carry, her good stuff, like her apples and her bananas. bananas and her a couple of oranges and a few nice good glucose biscuits and her granola bars with me. And whenever she would be hungry, I would tell her, darling, I think you want to have maybe a fruit or maybe a biscuit. And she would say, no, mom, I want the chips. And that's when actually I worked on my interesting point of view. That was the first time when I got to really work on interesting point of view.
Yes.
And it means so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also, so getting them to check in with their body. So it's, you know, when my kid's on his 5th ice cream cone, I'm like, hey, cool. But would you just check in with your body? Make sure that's what it's actually asking for. And they so get that. And I have to laugh because, you know, I live in Colorado, which in the United States tends to be a very health conscious place. I mean, I was driving my kids to school yesterday and there was a mom of infant twins with her stroller with the infant twins, 2 big dogs on a leash with a backpack, like at 6 o'clock in the morning and walking like, you know, her life depended on it. And I'm like, man.
Thank God we're not there. Or let's just say, thank God we're out of that.
I know, but you know, and I tapped into her world of, you know, wanting to lose the baby weight and wanting to be the super mom and wanting to, I mean, just I went for a second and I was like, don't go there.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, I'm such a good for nothing mom. I don't do all of that.
Yeah. But so we're very, very health conscious here. I mean, you don't go anywhere where there's not vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free options. You know, that's Colorado. And so a lot of my son's friends come from families with very, very strong points of view about food. And they come to my house and I open the cupboard and there's all kinds of sweets and chips and Cokes in the fridge and all that stuff. And I just look at them and I say, so the deal in my house is you can have any of this anytime you want it, as long as you ask your body. Now they don't know access tools. These are families. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And they get it. They get it. They don't even need an instruction on it. You just give them, ask your body. And it's like a duh. And they do that.
How true. Yeah. I mean,
but then they are empowered. You know, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, they are empowered, like you said, and then we work so hard to disempower them, to literally take away their knowing from them so we can actually tell them what we know, which is generally not, if I can say it, generally not correct.
True.
Generally it's not what really works for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is one of the other main points of view in the world we live in, is that parents do know best. So it's this sort of thing of, here's the superior, all-knowing parent who knows what's best for their children, and it's up to them to decide. And so there's this superior, inferior. I'm the adult, you're the child. I know, you don't. And when we buy into that and we want to disciple them into what we've decided for them, we actually invalidate their knowing. We're actually telling them, you don't know. Someone else should always know for you. We're actually telling them, you are not the source for creating your life. I am. And if I am, then someone else always has to be. So it seems like a subtle thing, but it's actually such a disempowering thing to have the point of view that I know best for you. So what if we were willing to be interesting point of view with that, and then start to ask our kids either out loud or just to ourselves, what do you know? What do you know? And what gift are you to me? And what contribution are you to me? And what contribution am I to you? And so we take away these levels and this hierarchy, and here's the role you're supposed to play down here, and here's the role I'm supposed to play. And by being interesting point of view, by asking what else is possible, by asking for communion, by asking what can we co-create together, then you change the energy of the environment, and there starts to be this flow, this rhythm, this communion, this ease, this joy, this possibility. And I went from being completely exhausted when Aaron was 4, and I told this story yesterday on the call. Aaron was 4, and then I had a 11-year-old and then teenagers and, you know, all the things. And I was sitting at McDonald's and I was working on my computer, and Aaron was in the playland, and I had just taken my first foundation class. And what was running through my head was like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. All of these kids, all of their demands, all of the things they need, all the work I have to do. And then I remembered, what was that tool I learned in foundation? Oh yeah, who does this belong to? And so I asked, who does this belong to? And the space that opened up in my world was just went, and I laughed. I went, oh my God, this isn't even my point of view. This is so not my point of view. And so I just let it go. And it was such like this difference, this change that started from that point, where parenting wasn't something, it was no longer a problem to be solved. It was not something that I had to do and that was exhausting and tiring. It was actually one of the greatest gifts and contributions in my world. And it was just an entirely different space. Yeah.
Wow. That's so wonderful, because when you said that, and you realized that this was not something this didn't really belong to me. Who does this belong to? That's when actually so often we realize that we pick up all these points of views from society, from our family, which we actually carry them on into with our children, almost as a value system, instilling the values into them as what were the points of views of our family, right? Of our country, of your religion, or of the country that you live in, or what you're supposed to do as an Indian, what you're supposed to do as an American. Although there are I would say there is a very slight difference in the way we bring up our kids, which looks really, really vast. You look at the way our kids in India are brought up and the kids in America or Europe are brought up. One would probably think that, our Indian kids are brought up very differently. Yet the bottom line, if I can say, the way that we bring them all up in any country, the common thing is control, whichever way they use it, right?
It's very correct.
Yeah. It's whatever way they use it, it's always with control.
Yes.
Yeah.
And control is the never ending battle that no one ever wins. And it's so when we're so locked into whatever the point of view is of how we should be as parents, or how our kids should be behaving, or what they should be when they grow up, or what kind of grades they should get. Pick anything. It doesn't matter. When we've decided it must be a certain way, and then we try to go about controlling things to make it's a battle that no one will ever win, and you all walk away exhausted and tired and angry and frustrated, because it's just and you hear this all the time from parents. They're so stubborn. I can't get them to do anything. It's the locking locking horns, locking heads.
Yeah. It's a fight about the control. Who gets to control whom?
Yes. But look at us as adults. So take out the size of the being and what age the being is, and look at us as adults. If somebody comes at us with an agenda and they've decided who and how we should be, and they are doing their damnedest to make sure that we fit that, how do we respond to that?
Right.
We fight the hell out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Because it's an invalidation of our being. It's an invalidation of our knowing. It's an invalidation of everything about us. And we go, I actually know. No, you don't get to do that to me. Just because there's someone in a little body doesn't change that they are still an infinite being, and that is still true for them.
And then that's where we beat them up, to batter them down into their body, to make them small, to make them believe that they are small.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and somebody said this on the call yesterday too, about one of the favorite things they ever heard Gary Douglas say about parenting was, it's about making your kids needless of you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite tools, Marnie. Oh, I love that tool. I mean, that's the one that I had the maximum resistance to, if I can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting
your kids to be needless of you.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Well, what's our job then?
You don't want them to be needless of you. Yeah. You're so useless then, right? I'm a mom.
Yeah. But and that brings up an interesting thing, because if we're looking at our kids to need us or to be the source to them for anything, then there is a sense of value that we're getting from that. And that's not a co-creation and a co-contribution, that's a taking. Yeah. And so, how can we be empowered, and how can we empower them? How can it not be I'm taking from you, or they're taking from you as the parent, but an actual co-creation, an actual communion, an actual flow, an actual gifting and receiving.
And there's so much of ease with that. When
Yeah.
it's not about, it's not about maintaining these scorecards or about maintaining the do's and the don'ts. And it's just about actually having that space of what's actually creating for both with the ease of, and if it's not something that's actually, if you don't have ease with something, you don't have the fear of actually speaking about it and bringing it up with your mom. You don't have the fear of being reprimanded, scolded, or made wrong for that.
Yes. Yes. And yes, the wrongness thing, which we've talked about a little bit. Yeah, let's go there.
Yes. Yeah. So Grant said that idea discipline also plays out with conversations we might have in our own heads with ourselves, upset with personal choices. Who knew we could also parent ourselves?
Yes. And can I thank you for that? And so with a lot of this, that's an excellent question to ask.
Yeah.
When your kid does something, I mean, good God, how many times I was about to go in to say exactly what my mother said to me. And the words would be right there. And then I would stop and go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
For what reason am I saying this? And I would stop and go, interesting point of view. I have that point of view. And I would start to ask some questions. So instead of our first response when our kids do something is, again, the discipline or the react, or how am I supposed to take care of this, or I'm supposed to fix this. So what if the next time your kid does the thing, whatever the thing is, you stopped, you recognize what your normal reaction would be, you recognize that you would go into the autopilot of what you usually do, and you would just stop and go, okay, interesting point of view, I have that point of view. And you ask the question, if I parented me the way I wish I would have been parented, what would I choose right now? How would I be right now? It sort of takes it out of that whole definition of the roles, and you go back to you. My kids are the greatest facilitators on the planet for me, because every time they choose something that sparks a reaction in me, it's the hugest gift right there to go, I can react, or I can do what everybody did to me, or I can stop and ask a question. I can stop and go, what is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? How can I change it? And then when you go into the question, rather than into all of that other things, not only do you have awareness and are you empowered, you actually see what's possible in dealing with whatever that is. And sometimes you don't even have to, because you changing, all of a sudden they change. All of a sudden it shows up different. They are constantly reflecting back to us as parents exactly what we're choosing, exactly where we're being unconscious, exactly where we're in a funk. They just are like, hello, do you see that? Do you see that? And we want to go, you're the problem. And it's, What if they weren't a problem?
What if they weren't a problem? So true. Also, when, connection to what you said about actually coming down really hard on your kids. And so often in the past, before I had the tools of access, I did do that. And the reaction, the after effects of coming hard on the kids would be me judging myself and then going into that guilt mode and that rabbit hole of, oh my God, I'm such an awful mom. I did what I decided I would never do. And, living it out literally as this horrible, mean monster mom, yet trying to be the good mom. And it would be like this a very webby kind of a situation, which which I would so often find myself in. Now with the tools of access, even if I do react, there is not a judgment about that. It's not like I go into that guilt mode. I can stop myself and then I can ask a question, which makes it so much easier for everybody around me now.
Yes. And one of my favorite tools with that too, and thank you for that, because that is what we are so wonderful at as parents, is judging ourselves for every single thing. And we don't look at the 500 million times we were spot on. We look at the, handful of times when we screwed it up, and that's what we focus on. So really the choice to not make yourself wrong is huge. And with my kids, when I know I've screwed up, I'll sit them down and go, I so messed that up. And I'll even say, I'm a terrible mom. And they always go, no, Mom, you're not a terrible mom. It's
Oh,
fine.
yeah, I do that too. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my God, I must be one of the worst moms. And they're like, oh no, mom, you're not that bad. Like,
you're
no,
not that
I
bad.
must be bad. I did this wrong. No, it's okay,
Yeah,
mom.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, so we do have a few. So Grant says, when a point of view is just interesting, you have the ability to choose something else rather than having a fixed point of view. Brilliantly described. Marnie, that's for you. It was truly brilliantly described. I think we want to try and get that out. And
Well,
Sonal
and if
says,
I
yeah,
was going to say, if you take nothing else away from this call, interesting point of view, that one thing can
yes,
change everything in parenting for you. Every single thing.
yeah,
It really can.
yeah. So true. Absolutely. I think that is one of the most, I won't say underrated tools, but one of the kindergarten tools, which when
Yes.
used can actually change your reality, or can change any situation so easily.
Yeah,
So
very true.
Sonal says, I've actually tried to speak to my sister about my nephew and how he knows, but her point of view is that he's too little to know. How do you pass the parent and empower the kid anyway? She's not receptive of the access approach yet.
So one thing I would say, if someone's not asking a question, I wouldn't say anything to them. You can be an invitation to your nephew by who you be. And so when you are, so your nephew, regardless of what mom and dad's choices are, understands energy, perceives energy, knows energy, even if he doesn't have the words to put to that. So you can just flow energy to him, just flow energy to him all the time. He doesn't even have to be in your physical presence. I mean, you wake up in the morning, just flow energy to him, just pull energy from him, just sort of create this energy flow with him. He will perceive you, and he will perceive the possibility that you're inviting, whether a word is ever spoken. And thank you so much for this question, because especially when we see a kid in an environment like, damn, you see what it's doing to them and you want to change it. Our first go-to can be to try to change the parent's point of view or try to offer something to them. But if they aren't asking, then they just have to fight you. That's the only thing they can do, because they're not asking. So if they're not asking, they can't actually receive. But nothing is greater than you. Nothing is greater than you. Absolutely nothing. Nobody's point of view, nobody's choices. So you being you and you engaging energetically and creating that energetic communion with your nephew will make a difference, whether anything in his environment ever changes. So just know that, and then just keep asking, like, hey, what else is possible? Is there something I can contribute beyond this communion and energy flow? And if something pops to say to him or to whatever, then just follow that. But just know that no one can stop you from inviting someone else to a different possibility. Even a kid in the most controlling environment, you can still invite them to a different possibility.
Yeah.
And it rarely requires words.
And one tool, if I can share here, Marnie,
Yes.
Sonal, that really works, even if people are not really receptive, as you said, and the kids are around them. One tool that really works is just for you to expand their zone constantly. Just to be around them. You don't have to say it. You don't have to make access language important or difficult, or even make the mom. You don't have to bring it out there, but just expand the kid's zone by by actually expanding the being. And it's just so much easier, because the child suddenly notices that you did something, and then he looks at you as, did you do something? And I've noticed kids coming to me later on and asking me, did you do something? I've had that experience where, yeah.
And possibly, what if you acknowledged that your nephew chose you to be in his world? These amazing kids that know that something else is possible, that are with parents who aren't choosing that, they have a way of finding people like all of you on this call and finding a way for you to be in their life, because they receive what they require from you being in their world. So would you acknowledge that all of these amazing humanoid children actually draw you in? They actually find you, and what a gift you are to their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sonu says yes.
Mm. And his gratitude for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Very
Sunita,
cool.
you raised your hand, darling. Do you have a question? Please feel free to unmute yourself. Any questions? I did. Okay, does anybody have a question? Two participants raised their hands. Sunita and Anita. Anita, you want to go first, darling?
Yeah. Hi, Chandana.
Hi, darling. Thank
Can
you
you
for
hear
being
me?
on. Yes, I can.
Okay. One second.
Very clearly.
Yeah, my question is about the expectations. Say, for instance, you end up paying a lot of money, asking them to, giving them education. And when they don't perform up to the expectations or their best, you know that they have the potency, but they are not choosing to give 100%. Uh, how would you handle such situation?
So it's a very good question. The first thing, so everywhere you have defined or decided what somebody living up to their full potential or putting in the required amount of work or doing what they're capable of doing, everywhere you've decided what that looks like, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So little story, my 17-year-old is a brilliant child. I mean, when they do this test for all of the kids in school, there's 4 areas they grade him in, all the kids in. And if a kid scores above a 90 in 1, they go to the gifted class because they're very smart. If they score in 2, they're really, really gifted. He's the first kid in the history of the school that got 3. And
Wow.
in middle school and high school, he gets C's at best, D's and F's. And his father very much had the point of view that he wasn't measuring up to his potential. He didn't care. He wasn't applying himself. He should not be getting these grades with the abilities that he has. But I had this wonderful teacher who sat me down and he said, I know that this is going to be the point of view about your son. But he said, some kids just don't fit into the way education works. And I knew this, but I was grateful that he was sort of supporting me in this. And there's just something about it that's not working for him. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he's not applying himself. He just has to find his way. And it might look very different than your way. And it might look very different than the school's way. And it might not meet any expectations anywhere. And so in that moment, I was like, thank you for that. I sort of got that, but I dropped it all. And I just, said to him, look, well, actually another teacher said this because he had teachers on his back all the time. Dude, you're the top of this and you're doing this and you should be doing better than this. He had one teacher that got him and she sat him down and she said, look, dude, can you just get C's? Because if you get C's, they're all going to stay off of your back. They're not going to be yelling at you.
Yeah.
Not going to be in the red zone and they'll leave you alone. And he was like, yeah, I can do that. So we did that. But my point is we buy into sometimes very subtly what other people say it means to live up to our potential, or if we care, we do this, it's going to look this way. So first of all, being interesting point of view about that. But then with regards to the school and paying money for it, you have a choice with that. If you go, you know what, actually, the education in school, even though this is an awesome school and all of that, it may not work for him, or it may not work for me to pay money if he's just going to not really do this stuff. So it's don't make him wrong, and also choose what works for you, because there's no right or wrong in that. So if you go, you know what, it's actually, I don't care to put my money there because I don't get this is going to change. He's not going to do what I think he should do, or he's not getting from here what actually contributes to how he's going to be and what he's going to choose in the world, then then you can make another choice. Does that make sense?
Oh, I'm kind of
Also, if I can come
shattered.
in here, Anita, it's also about, when kids don't do well according to school, when they get their results home, which are not up to the mark, they are already assuming and expecting their moms to get angry, to get upset, right? What if you can actually change that? What if you can just be in allowance or whatever he brings home? I know I did that with Noor. She's again brilliant and doesn't study the way any other child would. She has her own style of studying, and I really tried to change it. I couldn't. Finally, I gave up, and now she's doing really well for herself. So I remember about 2 years back, she came back and she came home from school, and she was really upset. And she tells me, "Mom, I got half on 30 in math." And
Oh,
I looked at her face and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. And she said, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "Because it's hilarious. I can't imagine how you could get half." I said, "No, I mean, if the half wasn't there, you would have got a zero." So she looked at me and said, "Mom, how can you say that?" I'm like, "But it's the truth, right?" And it was, I mean, and she looked at me and she said, "You're not going to get angry. You're not going to get upset. You're not going to punish me." And I said, "No, it's just too funny." And this is true. Okay. This child went to studying maths so well. She got a B in the next exam, which was just 2 months later. So
Yeah.
actually, if you change that energy or what they're actually expecting you to be with them, they don't know what hit them. They really don't know what happened. And then they're actually willing to look at it to see what they can now choose.
Yeah, because you actually, by changing the energy, you open the door for a different
Yeah.
possibility. It's
Yeah.
what we were talking about in the beginning. If we lock in on anything should be a way, then they have to fight against it. They have to, they have to, they have to. So the only way to change it, like Chandana said, is changing the energy of it by laughing, losing the point of view, asking a question, whatever's required to change the energy. You open the door to something else showing up. And I get when there's so many things that this loops into as well, because then it loops into other parents' points of view about your kid or what you should be doing as a parent. And then, and the school and how the school's looking at you as a parent and how the school's looking at your kid. So there's all of those things. So would you be willing to be wrong in everyone else's eyes to know what you know?
yes.
Awesome. And with some of those really fixed points of view, just keep on with interesting point of view and interesting point of view. What's it going to take to change this?
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yes.
Please do.
Uh, Before me joining into her course, I just gave a choice to her. Would you really want to, take up this course? And then she perceived a lot of lightness. And then I joined by paying some X amount. She did well, and then she dropped. She did well, and she dropped. I never, ask her anything, how much you scored, why you scored. I only say, give your best. So it's like I'm in a kind of a dilemma as to, as you were saying that probably I would want to explore, or could you just be a little more, give explanation to that, please?
Did you catch all of it, Chandana? I had it.
Actually, I didn't. She cut a little. Yeah. Are you saying that you would like to understand what she's choosing here, Anita?
I
Because
I want to
because
get a
from what I
clarity.
because from what I get is that you gave a choice to choose what she did,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then she chose what she did, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And after choosing, and then now
Yeah.
she's not giving her full.
So you've heard of 10-second increments, right? What if she unchose what
Mm,
she had chosen,
mm.
right?
So
You
give
know,
everything away and then
you
again
know,
start.
it's okay. It's okay. Isha, my older one, did
Mm-hmm.
Russian business management for 4 years, and she went to Scotland and she studied, and it was a lot of money that we spent on her education. And she came back and she worked in a buying house, and she hated her job. She just hated the work. And we could actually see this child contracting into something that she wasn't. And I remember in India, it's a very done thing, right? If the child doesn't want to if a girl doesn't want to study, get her married. Get her married, right? That's a very Indian cultural thing. So my
Yeah.
husband said, "You know what? Let's just look for a boy and get her married," right? And she said, "No, Mom, I don't want to get married, but this is not what I want to do." So for 6 months, Anita, for 6 months, she just sat home. She gave up her job. She just sat home. It was not easy on me as a parent. And if I had not been in access, it would have been really tough.
I know.
But I actually saw her just sit home, get up at 12 in the morning, watch TV all day, go to bed, have her midnight snacks at 1:32 in the morning. It was something, let's just say it's one of the nightmares of a mom, right?
Oh
And
my God.
that was definitely one of them. But for 6 months, I actually lived in an incomplete, interesting point of view about it. And today, I mean, it was what, in 6 months, she chose what she had to choose. She literally threw herself into access, and she became a CF in less than a year. And she is enjoying doing what she is doing. And along with that, looking into fashion too.
And you know something, Chandana? Uh, she got inspired by looking at Isha, the way she's doing, facilitation. And she said, Amma, I also want to get into this work.
Yeah. So
She's just 17, my younger one.
So what is stopping you, darling, from allowing her to choose now? This is
Yeah.
not, so I had a lot of people tell me, give me their points of views. Marnie, I don't know how it is there, but here in India, a lot of mothers came to me and told me, why are you letting Isha become a facilitator? Why are you getting her into this line? She's so young. She still has a whole life ahead. She's not unhappy. She's not sad. What's the problem? And I was like, guys, you've got to let her be. You've got to let her choose. And it was not easy. And eventually I tried working with my interesting point of view, with my friends, with my family. And today they're all turning around and they tell me, wow, what a fabulous choice she made.
Yeah, when I asked Gary Douglas for the tagline for Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids, he said, recognizing what kids can be, not trying to get them to be what you think they should be.
Awesome.
Wow, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes.
And when we let go of the expectations, we change the environment that they actually can start to perceive what's possible. They can perceive what they couldn't see before, because our expectations are like the wall that blocks them from seeing beyond. And when we lose them, everything opens up and they go, whoa, there's all of that. Because everybody else in their world, their schools, the society, the adults around them go, here's the path to success. Step 1, you go to school. Step 2, you go to college. They've got this, whatever each culture decided is the path to success. And when we buy that in any way, shape, or form, boom, we put a wall that says, this is what you can choose. When we lose our expectations, wall goes away and they go, whoa, infinite possibilities. I can choose beyond. What gift is that to us and to them?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Chandana, for giving an inspirational Isha to the kids. They really...
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy about that.
She sees Isha's, classes, Zoom classes, and then she's saying, wow, Ma, I also want to do that. So it's a compliment to you and Isha. Thank you so much for all the contribution.
Thank you, love.
Thank you, Marina. Bye.
Thank you.
So Sonal says, how do you deal with comparison that is being projected? Is this the last? Should we take this?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah?
If you want.
Okay, yeah. So how do you deal with comparison that is being projected upon kids? My nephew has a little brother now, and I can see how everyone is projecting upon him that he's going to be jealous and feel like he's not getting attention, which is not his point of view. But I see him validating everyone's reality around him by buying into that comparison universe. What contribution can I be to him here?
Do you want to respond first, Chandana? Or?
Please go ahead, Marnie.
Okay. Well, I would actually say what Chandana said to the other nephew about expanding the zone. So be aware of that, little boy, and bringing his zone out from this contracted projection world, and just pull it out, energetically pull it out. Then he's beyond the expectations and the projections, and he's aware of the other possibility, and he may choose to align and agree. He may choose to fake it. Do you know how many times kids do what's projected at them because they know that's what's expected, and they don't actually buy it as real or true. They just know that's what everyone thinks I'm supposed to do or says, so I'm going to do it because it makes my life easier. They don't actually logically think that through, but they'll just, yeah, all right, whatever. This is what and they'll do that. So I would say expand his zone out to beyond the expectations. And, and if it's something you can share with him of say, hey, did you know you can make your energy out so big that you don't actually get, affected by any of the things that are happening here? You can actually, invite him to that too.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yes. So Grant said, is that good, Sonal?
She says, all right.
All right. Yeah.
And I would just love to say that this reality, this world, no matter where you live, functions from judgment. Everything is about judgment and points of view and expectations and projections. So you waking up in the morning and choosing to be interesting point of view, you waking up in the morning and having allowance for everyone and everything that comes into your world is such a difference and is such a gift and a contribution that just being in your presence, you change things. You change things for kids, you change things for parents, whether you ever say a word or not. Your very being is an invitation to something else. Your very being is a gift and an energy that people don't, well, they don't experience the no judgment hardly anywhere, and they don't experience the energy of you other than you because you're the only one who has it. So would you acknowledge that you being you choosing allowance and interesting point of view changes things every moment of every day, whether you do anything huge and grand and stand up and speak in front of millions of people or not, whether you say a word to your next door neighbor or not, you being you invites and engages to possibilities and changes things.
That is so beautiful. Yeah, you being you.
Yeah.
And actually not judging yourself in the process.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would love just to wrap up with sort of that is so much of this reality again is about performance and getting things right. And that's how we relate to one another is pat on the back, you did a good job. And then what's wrong with you? You did a bad job. So it's all about measuring, scoring, grading, and then offering praise for the right choices and the good things, and then offering, correction or condescending or whatever for the quote, bad choices. And that locks us into this none of us ever feeling good enough. But if we would instead start with ourselves and acknowledge our very being, just as I was saying earlier, acknowledge that when you wake up in the morning, just because you're you, as you choose to be you, you create change on the planet. That's acknowledging your being. And then from that, what if we offered that to our kids? We didn't praise them because they got good grades or they cleaned their room or they ate their supper or the things that we look to judge and then praise or correct. What if we looked at them and said, I am so grateful that you are on the planet because you being here changes everything. What if we acknowledged their very being? What would that change in the world? I was at a Christmas concert. This was several years ago. And they were singing hymns and, hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn king. And I just stood there listening to people sing. And I went, this is so interesting. We sing all these praise to the newborn king, to Jesus and the story of Jesus. But what if every child, this makes me cry, that was born into the world was offered that sort of, thank you for being here. Thank you for the contribution that you are. You are bringing something to this planet that nobody else brings because there's only one you. And I'm so grateful that I get to be your mama or your dad. I'm so grateful that you're here. And what can we contribute to each other? And what can we create together? What if we started off like that? And if we didn't start off like that because we didn't have the tools, that doesn't make us wrong. You can choose it now. You can choose acknowledging for your being now. You can choose acknowledging for the being of your children now. And what would that create for all of us? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Just telling them every morning that we love you, we're grateful for you, and thank you for choosing me to be your mama.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Totally. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this, sorry, this is the what I know is possible for the world.
Yes.
This is what I know is possible for all of the beings on the planet. And it starts with us choosing it. Our choice for it makes it available on the planet greater than it's been available before. So never underestimate what your choice creates, not just for you and your kids, but for the entire world.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it starts from that, with that gratitude, right? Towards your kids, towards yourself, and acknowledging them for what they be. Yeah. Should we just take Grant's question?
Yes.
My daughter was in private school for the first 3 years with a terrible experience to the point the school labeled her disabled. In response, we had her take some evaluations which suggested she was operating at a university level in certain areas. She was in grade 3 at the time. Wow. End result, we took her out of the private school and put her in the public school down the street. Massive difference, both in her grades and her experience in the school. So that idea of some kids learn differently is so true. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and yay for you for not buying the point of view that they were projecting and choosing something else. We know, our kids know, when we choose to know what we know and not listen to what quote unquote experts say. We actually know.
And also, I think sometimes I've seen moms and parents, dads, whatever, they work really hard at being fair to both. So one doesn't feel left out and the other one doesn't feel like he's not loved enough. The kids get that energy. They get it. They get it that you're just trying to make them feel good enough, or if they're trying to make you feel wanted. It's not the same thing as you're being when you're just being you with both. And I think that's also an energy where they receive and they're like, oh, okay, is mom trying to love me, but she doesn't love me enough? It's again creating that confusion in the child's universe.
Yes.
Because like Marnie said in the beginning, it's energy that actually speaks more than the words, right? Yeah. So should we just wrap up with this call, although we could carry on and on and on?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. And Chandana, I love you. I just do.
I adore you, sweetheart. I love you so much. And I really want to thank you, Marnie, for creating this absolutely beautiful class. It's one of the most phenomenal classes in Access. They're all wonderful. All the classes in Access are beautiful. All the classes in Access create so much change. But truly, this is one class that when I've facilitated it, whenever, not been too many classes, just about 3 of them, with each class, you're changing families, you're changing realities, you're changing the future.
Yes.
Because this is truly creating a future.
Yes. And Chandana, as you probably know, is a Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids facilitator. Check out her website and when she has classes. I mean, sometimes there's intros, which are up to 4 hours. Sometimes she'll do a 1-day class and then a 2-day class. And each of them are just an invitation for more. And because it is for so many of us such a different, entirely different way we were parented, and an entirely different way that we may have been parenting, taking a 1-day class or 2-day class, you really get to dive in and ask the questions like Anita was asking and Sanal was asking. Really dig into those particular questions you have so that you can see what else you can choose and create. So I invite you to check it out.
Thank you. Thank you for that, darling. Yeah. And there are such wonderful, awesome facilitators all around the world. We have almost 20 of them now, right, Marnie?
We are close to 20. I want to say, yes. Yeah. And Lale actually is on. Thank you, Lale, for joining.
Yes,
she's one of our fabulous facilitators also. And she is she's on the East Coast in the US, but she also does travel. So
yes, so she can travel anywhere in the world with these wonderful classes. Yeah. And there's Lale. Hi.
Hi, there she is.
Morning.
Yes, thanks for popping on. Thanks for being with us. And Isha and Chandana actually co-facilitate together sometimes, which is an amazing energy. So that's happening.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Totally. It creates such a, it's interesting because sometimes, you know, you are facilitating, yet somewhere you get to see where you're facilitating from being a parent, right? When your daughter suddenly pipes in and she says, I'd also like to ask this question. And you're like, yeah, right. Okay.
Right?
That's a possibility too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, kids are the best facilitators, right?
Totally. And Isha is loving every minute of facilitating this class. She says, I'm so grateful to be facilitating this beautiful class. Oh, yeah. Awesome.
We are too. Thank you.
Thank you, Marnie, for being on, sweetheart. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you for creating this class. Thank you for bringing it out there. Yay, we have Lale on again.
Yay!
Wonderful. Yes, we will share the recording, Anita. Yep, will do. It will be up on YouTube also. And we shall post it. What time is it there for you, Lale?
Oh, it's like 11 a.m.
Oh, not that bad.
Okay. No, I've been up for a few hours. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to say, I adore you guys. And, you know, it doesn't matter like whether you're a facilitator or something, you're a parent or you're not. Like what I love about these tools is they apply to every part of our lives.
Yes.
You know, our children, our spouses, friends, co-workers. And one thing that I love is I've had people who don't have kids take our classes because they have families, they have parents, and these tools for them as the adults. And some of them have that they're parents of animals and it works for them as well. So I love it. It's such a gift. So thank you guys for having this today and just listening to both of you the last hour. It just brings up so much more possibilities in my world. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Oops, just a second. Yeah. So in fact, it's so nice of you, Lale. Yeah, in fact, what you said was so interesting because I remember in a class when I was facilitating a class in Mumbai recently, and there was a lady who said that my relationship with my parents has suddenly changed. She's saying I haven't had, and she's an unmarried girl, in fact, about a 29-year-old girl. And she came for the class and she says, I don't know why I'm even choosing this class. And she says, my entire relationship with my parents has changed. And I have so much of ease and I'm truly receiving from mom and dad. Yeah, so it's really more than just a parenting class.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Like I said, we could just carry on and on with this call. And I have my mom on this call, which is so special.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. And I'm just
Thank you, Chandana. And thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.